And we're back. This is Life After Life Beyond the Veil podcast. My name is Morgan, and this is episode 6, Ducks, You Have the Floor. Would it change your life if you discovered, before you were born, you chose every hardship you ever experienced? So, for those of you that have listened to my prior episodes, I have been referring to the book Mansions of the Soul, but this time I have decided to take a brief interlude from Mansions of the Soul Crusade for the interim because something else has been pecking at me and won't leave me be, which I tend to attribute to divine inspiration these days. The phrase, I don't know if you've heard it before, being pecked to death by ducks, does come to mind. That is the sensation. Some may perceive that analogy to mean how thousands of little pinpricks can add up to some serious damage over time. But for me, it's more along the lines of an unrelenting thought or idea that continues to intrude upon my consciousness, no matter the time, no matter the situation. It'll come unbidden and out of context and will not leave until I address it. So here we are. Ducks, you have the floor. So I was driving back home after a full day of errands with my little one asleep in the back, listening to my favorite podcast, Shades of the Afterlife by Sandra Champlain. I believe I mentioned her in episode 1 and episode 3. If you have not ever listened to the podcast, I do recommend her. For me, it was life-changing. We live out in the middle of BFE, and if you don't know what that means, it means nowhere. Phone service doesn't kick in until 15 minutes out in any direction. The closest store is at least 30 minutes away. So I generally have to have 1 or 2 episodes downloaded and ready to go for the trip. Normally, her episodes get me no matter what. I mean, just straight to the heart. But this one in particular struck a chord. And forgive me because I do not remember the number of the episode. But the woman being interviewed had a near-death experience, like many others on the podcast. And just like many others, she relayed what she saw and experienced while in the hereafter. Now, where she differs, and what got me, is what transpired while she was there. She talks about her time in the room of choices. Sounds either really fantastical or intimidating, doesn't it? She says that while she was there, she met with her son. And now, I can't even remember the episode number, so I can't remember if she had said that he had yet to be born when this happened, or if she was witnessing something that had already transpired and he was alive in the real world when her near-death experience happened. I don't remember that. But she continues to say that while there, her son and her met as equals. There was no age difference, no generational difference, no mother-son relationship, but still a love, understanding, and closeness. They had decided together to experience this next life as a mother and her child. With the relationship set and agreed upon, they were then led to the room of choices. Laid before them were 3 tables. On each table, an emblem and a stone. Each one represented a choice, represented a life. When picked up, the viewer would be shown a brief summation of the life they would lead if they chose that path. They'd see the ups and the downs, the hardships, the celebrations, the suffering, and the blessings. They'd see themselves as they lived the life, what they looked like, what they sounded like, what they felt like. No two were alike, all different, all unique. The choice, though, was the son's, not the mother's. She had already made her choice. It would be his life, his decision. After viewing all three, he turned to his mother for her approval, because, although it was to be his future, the impact it had on her life would be great. And they'd finally come to the reason for her presence there during his choosing. Her son's choice in life would also include his father. 3 different lives to choose from, 3 different men. Only one who would inevitably and indelibly mark her existence on this plane and help shape that of her sons. So, I'll let that sink in a little bit. If we take in what the speaker described and then apply it to our own life, our own existence, our own battles and strife, then it may look a little something like this. I chose. At one point, I chose. I chose a mother who fought her own demons on a daily basis and lost. A mother whose upbringing I can only imagine because paranoia forbids her to share any of her history with even that of her own children. A mother who'd go from Martha Stewart level Christmases, and I'm not kidding, and holidays to standing over her child's bed in the middle of the night, questioning whether she was a good mother at a barely discernible whisper, and so fast it'd make your head spin. A mother whose drinking led to the devastation of her children's early lives, her relationship with them, and ultimately any peace she has in her own to this day. I chose a father who chose poorly for 18 years. A man who blindly overlooked the suffering of his own child in order to keep the hope alive of a wife that would change, a marriage that would heal, and a life where he succeeded. A father who'd have to physically hold his ground against a woman half his size, but didn't once think she'd go in search of easier prey. A father who required perfection and instilled fear as much as levity. A father made of maddening dichotomies and very few constants. I chose a body that would fight me at every turn. A body that put on weight too easily and very rarely took it off. I chose to fight a seemingly never-ending battle for almost 30 years against myself, against my own mind. The worst kind of bully. A bully that tells me every single day that I am not good enough, that I am ugly, that I am fat, as if the bullying I underwent by others wasn't enough in this lifetime. I'd then have to suffer under the constant bullying in my own head. I chose a body that took almost a decade to create life, in which time hope had become something I tried desperately to let go of, but never could. It hurt to hope. I chose a body that continued to suffer from constant intestinal pain that sent me to the hospital, PCOS, EBV, and a fatigue so thick I could barely fight my way clear of it on a daily basis in order to perform the simplest of ordinary tasks to take care of myself. I chose a mind with ADHD and autism. I chose this for myself. I chose this. As it says in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, verse 13, no temptation has overtaken you except what is common to mankind. And God is faithful. He will not let you be tempted beyond what you can bear. But when you are tempted, he will also provide a way out so that you can endure it. Or, the more familiar phrase to some, God won't give you more than you can handle. But in this case, I won't give me more than I can handle. I chose this knowingly and with my eyes wide open. I stood in that room of choices, and after viewing 3 options, I said, I gotta get me some of that. I want that one. I did so because I knew I could get through it. I did not doubt myself nor my Creator. The experience I gained would be worth all of this pain and all of this struggle. There is a reason for all of this, and I am starting to think mine is love. I have never been able to love myself, I'm going to tell you that. To love me where I stand. And I know I am not alone in this. It's always been when I'm thin, I'll love myself. When my hair is longer, I'll look more feminine and I'll love myself. Or when I buy these new clothes, I'll look better and I love myself. Unfortunately, my emphasis on image did not just stop at me either. I have always applied it to the person I have chosen to spend my life with, the person I love most in this world after my child, and part of the reason my child exists. And I find myself picking him apart piece by piece in my head and cataloging my likes and dislikes, judging him on a daily basis. I need to learn to see beyond. I need to change my focus. I need to start with myself. I'm already in my 3rd decade, and I will be trying to love myself for the first time in my life. But I'm fairly certain I can do it. I'm hopeful, and it doesn't hurt for once. Is it still tough? Oh, heck yes. There are still days where that lovely ego tries to butt in and tell me my self-worth. But there are also days now where I have quiet, outside of the ADHD brain. Moments where I can be mindful, where I don't dodge mirrors and delete photos. Bringing it back around, does it help me knowing I chose this life? You bet it does. Because, apparently, God doesn't just think I'm a badass. I do too. So, that is it for this episode. Until next time, my lovelies, thank you so much for listening. Happy years and happy tears to you all. Cheers.